Hey guys, it's me, and this is my set, where I'm going to talk about A Song of Ice and Fire, like a madman. There's my bookshelves, but it's missing something, don't you think? I feel like it needs something more. I know what it needs. A painting. But where am I going to find one of those? 7 hells? There's one right here. Let's put it up. How funny would it be if this thing just fell over immediately? Yeah. Alright, I may need a step stool. I am known for being a short guy. Yeah. What I need is a third hand. Well, this is going exactly how I planned it. Wait right there. Aha! Let's try this. It worked! It's leaning a little forward, but some of that's unavoidable. That's how gravity works. Nice. That's a river. It's kind of glary. Let me see if I can fix that. Turn the light a little. Is that oh yeah, that's a big help. It's kind of dim, but we're talking about books anyway. Can't see with my head in the way. That's good. I don't want one of these. That'll go there. This one will go here. Nice, we got our candles lit. I don't want to slide into that wee crap. I hate when streamers do that. You're not a we, you're a you. I think that's everything. Ugh. That looks good. Then my head can go like right there. Yeah, it's not in the way of the painting. That's good. That's a good set. Check this out. Ah, cool. River of Flame. It's kind of like the Trident, but not quite as big. So anyway, let's talk about some of the stuff behind me. Well, let me introduce myself. I'm Apples and Dragons. I'm a total maniac for these books behind me. A Song of Ice and Fire. From here to here. And then over my other shoulder, there's a World of Ice and Fire. The World of Ice and Fire. And there's a bunch of other books, a bunch of movies. I've read most of them. AMA. Let's get the obvious out of the way. Most of my hair is on my chin. That's because I'm balding like something terrible. But I'm mostly okay with it. It's just a part of getting older. So in this video, I basically just wanted to set up my set and say hello. And let you meet me. And I guess I'll meet you in the comments afterwards, because this isn't live. Let me get one of these books though. Yeah, here's what you came for. A Game of Thrones by George R. R. Martin. Let me change some things around here. Yeah, that's good. So anyway, I feel like it's good to have the books with you that you're going to be talking about. I probably won't grab them very much because I usually just use the digital version so I can Control F and find what I'm looking for immediately. But I use these in everyday life, and they've got some bookmarks in them all the time. Constantly reading the series, basically. He's a little obsessed, Jim. And you know, sometimes I might want to just grab them and hold it up to the camera to be an asshole, like to make a point. Like, the thing you said is not in the book is totally in the book. Even if the boy does live, he will be a cripple. Told you it was there. I'm a little sleepy, so I'm not going to be very acute right now. What should I talk about? I feel like I should talk about something ice and fire related. Okay, here's something I was thinking about recently. I was listening to the chapter on audiobook, The Clash of Kings Bran 4. And in it, we get the judging prophecy of the sea is coming to Winterfell. And some of the people that Jojen has met at Winterfell, he says that they're going to drown when that happens. Let me get the chapter open in the book. The chapter begins, Alebelly found him in the forge, working the bellows for Micken. Maester wants you in the turret, my lord prince. There's been a bird from the king. The king being Robb. And this is just after Robb's won Ox Cross. The Battle of Ox Cross. A page fell out. I need a refund. It's a paperback. I don't care that much. Wait, what the frick just happened? $3.90. That's the page. Okay, so Bran is summoned to the Maester's Tower about this letter from Robb, and the Walder Frey boys are both Walders are already there, and Rickon is there. And Lewin gives them the news. The news is we had a message from His Grace being Robb, with both good news and ill. He has won a great victory in the west, shattering a Lannister army at a place named Oxcross, and has taken several castles as well. He writes us from Ashmark, formerly the stronghold of House Marbrand. Rickon tugged at the Maester's robe. Is Robb coming home? Not just yet, I fear. There are battles yet to fight. Was it Lord Tywin he defeated? Asked Bran. No, said the Maester. Sir Stafford Lannister commanded the enemy host. He was slain in the battle. Bran had never even heard of Sir Stafford Lannister. He found himself agreeing with Big Walder when he said, Lord Tywin is the only one who matters. Tell Robb I want him to come home, said Rickon. He can bring his wolf home too. So the good news is that Robb won at Oxcross. The bad news is for the Freys. It's that their uncle died, Sir Stevron Frey. My lords, your uncle Sir Stevron Frey was among those who lost their lives at Oxcross. He took a wound in the battle, Robb writes. It was not thought to be serious, but 3 days later, he died in his tent, asleep. Big Walder shrugged. He was very old, 65, I think. Too old for battles. He was always saying he was tired. Lord Walder hooted. Tired of waiting for our grandfather to die, you mean? Does this mean Sir Emmond's the heir now? Don't be stupid. So they start arguing about who's the heir. They don't care at all about their uncle. And Maester Lewin chastises him a little bit. He says, Maester Lewin cut in sharply. You ought to be ashamed of such talk, my lords. Where is your grief? Your uncle is dead. Yes, said little Walder. We're very sad. They weren't, though. Bran got a sick feeling in his belly. Here it is. They like the taste of this dish better than I do. He asked Maester Lewin to be excused. So Bran is still pondering about the meaning of that dream, Jojen's dream that Mira told him in the previous chapter. He's been thinking about it for a while. Bran recognizes that this is a situation where Bran doesn't like this dish as much as the Frey boys. And it's kind of weird because it's a dish of a Frey death. So you can see why Bran connects this to the Jojen's dream, because he's got Jojen's dream on the mind, and that line in it about the Walders liked their food better than you liked yours. In my regular show, Grey Sheep and Hedge Wizards, episode 7, I think, I said that in Jojen's dream, Maester Lewin serving Bran the food represents the conversation that Bran just had with Lewin, where Lewin was trying to tell him that magic isn't real. And that's why Bran doesn't like the taste of his food in Jojen's dream, because in his heart he knows that magic is real, and that there's more meaning to things than Maester Lewin's explanation allows. So Bran is still thinking about Jojen's dream, trying to figure out what it means, because Mira won't frickin' tell him. Which is, Mira does this a lot, where, well, Mira and the Three-Eyed Crow do this, where they just won't tell him what the deeper meanings are. They'll let Bran figure them out for himself, which I think is about, like, they're trying not to rob Bran of the wisdom of it, because if you just tell somebody the answer to something, in some ways you rob them of the wisdom of it, because you never get as much out of something as you do when you have to do the work yourself. Whether the work is physical or cognitive or whatever. Doesn't really matter. Then Bran asks to be excused from the room, and it's Osha who comes to get him instead of Hodor. And Bran straight up asks her, have you ever seen a three-eyed crow? So Bran's getting braver about telling people about his dreams. He's not quite as shy as he used to be, or afraid, or uncomfortable about it. But Osha's never seen one. Then Osha leaves the room, and Jojen and Mira come in, unbidden. They just spontaneously walk into Bran's room. So these kids are really close now. They're Bran's constant companions, I think, was the description. You heard about the bird? Bran asked. The other boy nodded. It wasn't a supper like you said. It was a letter from Robb, and we didn't eat it, but... The first thing Bran wants to know is what this means for Jojen's dream. He's got an interpretation of Jojen's dream, and he's running it by Jojen to see what Jojen thinks. The green dreams take strange shapes sometimes, Jojen admitted. The truth of them is not always easy to understand. Tell me the bad thing you dreamed, Bran said. The bad thing that is coming to Winterfell. Does my Lord Prince believe me now? Will he trust my words, no matter how queer they sound in his ears? Bran nodded. It is the sea that comes. The sea? I dreamed that the sea was lapping all around Winterfell. I saw black waves crashing against the gates and towers, and then the salt water came flowing over the walls and filled the castle. Drowned men were floating in the yard. When I first dreamed the dream back at Greywater, I didn't know their faces, but now I do. That Ale-belly is one, the guard who called our names at the feast. Your Septon's another, your Smith as well. Micken? Bran was as confused as he was dismayed. But the sea is hundreds and thousands of leagues away. So that's the sea prophecy, or green dream. They're kind of the same thing. And Jojen straight up lists the names of people who are going to die in the Greyjoy attack of Winterfell. Bran says, we have to tell them. Jojen says it will not save them. Mira says they will not believe, Bran, no more than you did. So Jojen's description of green dreams is very consistent throughout the books. He's always saying that you can't change them and you can't divert them or anything. They're going to come true in some interpretation or another. And so in this chapter, a lot of the characters are having this sort of debate about this. It's the prophecy debate about can you change your fate? And if you can't, what was the point of even knowing it? And what kind of God would send these visions if you can't change them anyway? Jojen sat on Bran's bed. Tell me what you dream. There are different kinds. So Bran describes the different kinds of dreams he has. Wolf dreams, where he kills squirrels, and there's crow dreams where the crow tells him to fly. There's falling dreams. Those are the worst ones. And Jojen just straight up calls him a warg. He just says warg. Bran looked at him, his eyes wide. What? Warg. Shapechanger. Beastling. That is what they will call you, if they should ever hear of your wolf dreams. The names made him afraid again. Who will call me? Your own folk. In fear. Some will hate you if they know what you are. Some will even try to kill you. That line's intriguing to me because it introduces a new motivation for the cat's paw to think about. Maybe whoever sent the cat's paw wanted to kill Bran because he's a warg. And it had nothing to do with the Jaime and Cersei incest, or Joffrey bastardy, or any of it. That would kind of be way cooler, wouldn't it? I think so. Jojen tells Bran the wolf dreams are not truly dreams, are no true dreams. You have your eye closed tight. So he's trying to tell Bran the wolf dreams are actually really happening. And Bran says, I don't want it. I want to be a knight. Jojen says, a knight is what you want. A warg is what you are. You can't change that, Bran. You can't deny it or push it away. Much like the three-eyed crow, Jojen's trying to get Bran to accept what he is and incorporate it into his path forward and become the person that the world needs him to be. Bran says, Maester Luwin says there's nothing in dreams that a man need fear. There is, said Jojen. What? The past, the future, the truth. So Jojen's straight up contradicting Maester Luwin's teachings, air quotes, and telling Bran that actually the dreams do mean more than Maester Luwin will let you believe. Okay, here it is. This is the part I really wanted to talk about. In the days that followed, he tried to warn others about what Jojen had seen, but it didn't go as he wanted. Mikken thought it was funny. The sea, is it? Happens I always wanted to see the sea. Never got where I could go to it, though. So now it's coming to me, is it? The gods are good. To take such trouble for a poor smith. So Mikken doesn't take it seriously at all. He's having a laugh about it. And he also interprets it literally. Like the actual water of the ocean is going to come to Winterfell. And we know because we've read ahead that the dream represents Theon taking Winterfell. Because Theon's a Greyjoy, and the Greyjoys worship the ocean. The god of the sea, or the drowned god is what it's called. And so that's the sea symbolically coming to Winterfell. And coming over the walls and drowning all these people that die in the sack of Winterfell, basically. So Mikken's the first guy he tells. He takes it too literally. It continues. The gods will take me when they see fit, Septon Shale said quietly. Though I scarcely think it likely that I'll drown, Bran. I grew up on the banks of the White Knife, you know. I'm quite the strong swimmer. Guy number 2, Septon Shale, takes the dream too literally. But he's not as dismissive of it as the first guy, so half a point to Septon Shale. It continues. Alebelly was the only one who paid the warning any heed. He went to talk to Jojen himself, and afterward stopped bathing and refused to go near the well. Finally, he stank so bad that 6 of the other guards threw him into a tub of scalding water and scrubbed him raw while he screamed that they were going to drown him, like the frog boy had said. Thereafter he scowled whenever he saw Bran or Jojen about the castle and muttered under his breath. That's freaking hilarious. So Alebelly, guy number 3, he also takes it too literally. But he takes it more seriously than even Septon Shale, and way more seriously than Mikken did. He straight up believes it. He's a superstitious guy. Alebelly's my favorite character in this chapter. He just stops bathing completely. Like, oh no, I'm not going to take any chances. I might drown, like the dream said. Like the dream of the teenage boy who eats frogs said. And then after the bath, it's even funnier, because he just scowls at Bran and Jojen afterwards. Like, oh my god, I actually believed you guys. I didn't drown at all. The bath was fine. So now he doesn't believe it. So Ale Belly's a little fickle, but even his name is awesome, Ale Belly. What all of this I think is depicting, at least in part, is personality differences between people regarding their inclinations and maybe even aptitude for reading symbolic meaning into things. Micken reads no symbolic meaning into it. Septon Shale reads no symbolic meaning into it. And Alebelly reads some symbolic meaning into it. But he gets it wrong. Alebelly sort of overlooks the water coming over the walls of Winterfell part of the dream. And the part that sticks with him is just the part about Alebelly's gonna drown. So he's a little more practical minded about it. More self-centered maybe. But it's hard to fault him too much because, of course, he doesn't want to die. And then Maester Luwin is talking to Sir Roderick. He says, "The Reed boy believes he sees the future in his dreams, Sir Roderick. I've spoken to Bran about the uncertainty of such prophecies. But if truth be told, there is trouble along the stony shore." So Luwin actually sees some clues of the beginning of how this prophecy green dream thing might actually come true. But he still doesn't really believe that Jojen's dreams predict the future. A lot like in the last Bran chapter, Luwin's kind of in denial about magic and the deeper meanings that he sees in the world. He doesn't want there to be deeper meanings in things, or magic, because it discomforts him. He's devoted his whole life to making sense of the world in mundane ways. Roderick says, "He didn't see me drown, did he? No? Good." So like Alebelly, Roderick is more concerned with his own death than what the prophecy means. Which is understandable, but a mishandling of prophecy, because death in a prophecy can be symbolic. It doesn't need to be literal, necessarily. And if you're too focused on that interpretation, you could miss the other interpretations. It heartened Bran to hear that. Maybe they won't drown then, he thought, if they stay away from the sea. Mira thought so too, later that night when she and Jojen met Bran in his room to play a 3-sided game of tiles. But her brother shook his head. "The things I see in green dreams can't be changed." That made his sister angry. "Why would the gods send a warning if we can't heed it and change what's to come?" "I don't know," Jojen said sadly. "If you were Alebelly, you'd probably jump into the well to have done with it. He should fight, and Bran should too." "Me?" Bran felt suddenly afraid. "What should I fight? Am I going to drown too?" So Mira lets it slip that there's a bad prophecy about a bad green dream about Bran, and Bran gets it out of Jojen. Mira looked at him guiltily. "I shouldn't have said..." He could tell that she was hiding something. "Did you see me in a green dream?" he asked Jojen nervously. "Was I drowned?" "Not drowned." Jojen spoke as if every word pained him. "I dreamed of the man who came today, the one they call Reek. You and your brother lay dead at his feet, and he was skinning off your faces with a long red blade." So we know what happens in the future of the story. We've read the story already. So we can actually look at this and see which parts of it are literal, which parts are symbolic, and how the characters are getting it wrong. So what that dream depicts is when, after Theon's taken Winterfell and the Stark boys escape, Theon gets two lowborn boys or whatever, and he tries to pass them off as if they were Bran and Rickon in order to strengthen his hold on Winterfell. Because if the people of Winterfell are just clinging to Stark loyalty and hope that Bran and Rickon are still alive, it's going to be harder to get them to be obedient and do what you want and all that. That's from memory, so I could be wrong about Theon's thinking there, but it kind of doesn't matter. So what Jojen's dream depicts is that Bran and Rickon are dead at the feet of Ramsay, and Ramsay's skinning off their faces. So in the dream, the two Crofters boys or whatever, their faces are symbolic. They're not actually Bran and Rickon. They just represent them because that's who Ramsay and Theon are trying to pass them off as. The skinning part is literal. The Ramsay part might be literal. I honestly didn't even know that Ramsay was the one who did it. I just assumed it was Theon. But that's probably from the show's influence. I haven't read this part of the books in a long time. It continues. Mira rose to her feet. If I went to the dungeon, I could drive a spear right through his heart. How could he murder Bran if he was dead? So Mira makes a pretty good point. Against Jojen's point that you can't change the dreams. It's like, well, there's nothing stopping me from going and killing this Reek guy right now. So what if I did that? Do you think the dream would stay the same? How could it, if the guy's dead? You can't skin off anybody's faces then. And so you can see where Mira's screwing up the interpretation. She's taking the faces literally, but in the dream they're symbolic. But that isn't the end of the dream. Let's get the rest of it. Jojen says, I saw you and Rickon in your crypts, down in the dark with all the dead knights and their stone wolves. No, thought Bran. No. If I went away, to Greywater or to the Crow, someplace far where they couldn't find me, it will not matter. The dream was green, Bran, and the green dreams do not lie. End of chapter. So in the dream, Jojen sees Bran and Rickon down in the crypts. And apparently all three of them, Mira, Jojen, and Bran, interpret that to mean that Bran and Rickon are going to die. And which makes complete sense from their point of view. Because Bran and Rickon both had that dream of Ned in the crypts. And then the next day, they learned that Ned was dead. So in their first dream about Ned, the crypts were symbolic of the death of the person in them. And so it's no wonder they think in this dream, the same thing is going on. But since we've already read the story, we can see how they're getting it wrong. Bran and Rickon were literally hiding out in the crypts after they escaped Theon. But they weren't dead. They were very much alive, and they left the crypts eventually. This whole chapter is a huge, metatextual dump of how prophecies work. But only on a reread, because you have to know how these prophecies resolve before you can extract the metatext. The rules of engagement and the rules of prophecy and all that. Where you can see that Jojen's description of the rules are right. They do always come true. Just not always in the way you expect. Super cool chapter. A Clash of Kings Bran 5. Anyway, that was a fun video. That's enough for one video. Thanks for coming, guys. I'll see you next time.